Welcome everybody to our W12 Setup guide. We're joined today by myself, of course. Biggles, our usual F1 commentators, also here, and we're joined by the guy who's going to be doing a lot of this setup talk through, which is Alex Eguia, the championship winner from last season, and he's going to be talking us through a little bit of just general setup guide and how these cars work as well. So if Alex wants to go ahead and introduce himself briefly as well, we'll get on to that now.
Well, hello, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here after winning the championship. And yeah, it's an opportunity that you gave me to go through this car. How does it feel? How to handle it? How to set up? And yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. We can do with like a student teacher role, or you can ask every question that you like, and we'll sort it out.
Sounds good. So for everyone that's wondering on stream, Alex is the blue and white car there. We've also got Kevin Stam, a member of our management team, also in the session, who may be doing a few laps in the background and learning from Alex's advice. So that's going to be interesting. So just sort of in generalize, how long have you been driving in sim racing, in iRacing? And I assume you've been driving this car since it came out as well.
Yeah, as soon as it came out, I went and purchased it. I've been a Formula One and sim racing fan since, I don't know, maybe since I was 15, 2005. And yeah, I think I started there just as a hobby, not doing so many races. But in the last 2 years, yeah, I went full on with iRacing and sim racing, and specifically on Formula cars. I started with the Formula 3 and then quickly jumped out to Formula 1. I spent like 2 or 3 seasons with Williams when it was on the official series. Then we switched back to the McLaren of 2015, I think it was. That pour on the engine, and then yeah, last season 3 months ago when the Mercedes came out, I went fully on it, try to understand the car, try to, I don't know, maybe get everything from it, and how to set up and how to be faster and know its limit, which I think it's the most important thing on a game and on racing, to know where the limit is and try to go to that limit on every corner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think sort of the plan today was we'll ask some questions, and then if there's anything that you think we sort of miss, and you can drop that in as well. Obviously, we'll see if anyone else has any questions in chat to ask or anything like that as well. So my first question was sort of about the tires. So obviously, I think most people will know there's three tires for this car: the soft, medium, and the hard, which all sort of have different properties, with the harder compounds lasting longer but not being as quick in general. At least, you know, for the first few laps, definitely, I'd say. So how do you go about choosing what tire you're going to use in a race, and do you have to make pressure adjustments, or is it fixed in most of the series?
In fixed series, yes, you can choose the tires. I think I didn't race the fixed as much because I want to, if I don't feel comfortable with the car, I want to set up like I want to handle it. But for pressures, it's always run the lowest pressure available, because I think it's like fixed from the FIA or the Formula One government, which raised the minimum pressures because the cars were so much faster with low pressures. And for the race strategy, in this first season, iRacing came with only 50% length of races, which in most cases you can do with soft tires, which is the fastest one. So it's pretty simple on some circuits. In some, like maybe this one on Spa, if you run with higher downforce, I mean lower downforce, you have to do some more somewhat battling with the tires on the medium sector. Maybe on soft tires it will be very tricky, but on some others like Jules Villeneuve or Monza or Imola, it's pretty easy to go half distance with the medium tires. In the next season, I think it's going to be 100% full length races, and that'd be very very interesting because maybe you can use soft and medium tires for sure, but maybe in other circuits it's going to be soft mediums. The order is going to be your choice, but maybe you have to do. You can do maybe medium hard, especially for example Barcelona in summer, because you won't be able to do it with the soft tires, and it's going to be interesting that strategy versus soft medium.
All right, okay. All right. I've been told you've got some sort of stuff planned out. So if you want to get on with that, then that sounds great to me.
Yeah, the first thing with iRacing and this car is that the setups are very competitive, to be honest. And my weekly routine is to load the basic setup for iRacing. I just do maybe some tweaks, like for example, try transparent halo for sure. And maybe, in my opinion, the brake bias is too much forward with this car, but you can adjust it mid-race, so that's cool. And one thing I do every week is always run in balance mode with the battery. That means that you are always like deploying the same energy that you get from braking and high reps. So that way you always deploy the same battery. It's not like you drain the battery at first if you go on quali mode, like I see many people do. And it's like the mode that you're going to be running on the race, like 80-90% of the time. So it's the most used one on the race. So use that. And I don't know if it's something personal or not. I always choose the medium tires to start with, because if you go on the softs, you can maybe set up your car with a little too much grip. And if you then put the mediums, you can maybe lose some grip. So it's always the worst case scenario with the medium tires and balance mode. And then run like 3, 5, 10 laps once I feel comfortable with the car and have some feelings with it. I don't know, maybe the braking is it's too bad, or it's understeery or oversteery, and then start setting up the car.
And real quick there, g'day. Just a smooth operator, of course.
If it takes it's clear.
Alex. Yeah, real quick there, you say you're going out in the mediums to get a couple of, so say for example for a qualifying run, you could then obviously switch back to the softs, couldn't you, at any time?
Yes, but it's like my plan is always fill the car the same, or maybe have the same car every race, every circuit, so you can know much about it. So if you go, for example, I run on medium now and then on softs on the next circuit, I'm not getting the same feelings from the car, because the car is going to be the same. For sure, the circuit is going to be different and maybe demanding soft or medium tires, or even the temperature is going to be higher or lower depending on the country and the circuit. But for me, it's always drive the same car, and you're going to know so much about it.
All right, and at the moment you're out back on an outlap, and welcome along everybody that is tuning in. Please feel free to ask any questions. That's what Alex is here to provide for all of us here today, including us up in the commentary box. Us being George. You didn't introduce yourself, George.
Yes.
Sorry. It's fine. So and so I mean, obviously we probably have to be quiet, obviously, when you get your flying lap in there, Alex. But at the moment you're preparing for a flying lap. So anything you're doing in right now to prepare for a flying lap?
Just filling the car, knowing that I don't know how it's going to be, the basic setup. So I'm not pushing so much. I'm braking a bit earlier. But knowing how it goes on oversteer, if it's like even on a straight line acceleration, just feeling it.
We'll let you go for your flying lap right now, though. I think we'll just have a listen to the engines and have a listen to the car.
Sector 1 time's okay.
We've got a Tyler in the chat saying
So
congratulations for the
under
win.
theory there.
That's a new fastest lap for Stam, 146.00.
Thank you.
You're a tenth off the pace in Sector 2.
I think something we often see in real life with these cars is sort of similar to what Alex suggested, 3, 5, maybe even 10 laps of sort of getting used to the car on one of the harder compounds. But obviously those guys have got to do a lot more building up. Anyone who watches Formula 1 practice will know that in especially practice 1, the times tumble down very quickly from what we see initially set. But from what I can tell from watching this lap so far, Alex seems to be able to push it to the limit very quickly. Now I don't know if that's experience with the car or
You're currently
because
0.19 off the pace.
obviously in real life it's a much bigger penalty if you crash your car. Is it just that you've driven the car a lot?
Yeah, it's for sure in sim racing it's easier to find the limit crashing the car. In real life you cannot do that. And but yes, I think there have been 12 consecutive races, once every week. So yeah, I have quite a lot of experience with this car. But I think Spa was the second race of the season, and yeah, the experience I had there it wasn't as much as compared like right now. And yeah, I remember even back at that time in Spa, I didn't know how you could switch your brake bias and your brake migration. We'll get into that, and it helped me a lot. So yeah, that's what I said. If you make a lot of races and driving a lot with the same car, I think it's better for yourself, like finding the limits of that car. Because for example, on other series like the GT3 series, for example, there are like 5 or 6 cars, and you can be jumping from one to another. And I think it's better to focus on one car and knowing your car, like your daily car. For example, you know it how to shift that car. Where is the clutch by point and everything, and the same for sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a question in chat saying they missed the first part of this, but I think we haven't really delved into it yet. When you're starting a setup, do you go from iRacing baseline, or do you take the sort of iRacing pre-made ones for the tracks and then modify them? Where do you start off with a setup?
With this car, I recommend the base. It's not a baseline. It's like iRacing setup has one for each circuit. Like the GP is the race one and the quali one. And yeah, I recommend starting with these ones because they are very, very competitive. For sure, then I bought some setups from I don't know, maybe Mayor's Garage or something like that, and they are quite competitive. But in some cases, it's more the feeling with the car than the setup. At least in this one, because there is not much difference. For example, if we raise the front flap by a whole degree, like 4 clicks, for example, I'm not going to be crazy slow in straights compared to the previous one, and I'm not going to be crazy fast on corners. It's going to be just a little bit better. So it's just finding the right balance, like finding yourself comfortable with the car and not being slow on lap times. and then from now on it's like I just found, for example, it's a bit understeery the car, so maybe I can go with another downforce trim, and yeah, it's like just test with it, because for example here it's very easy to change, for example, your anti-roll bar to lower it, and on a physical car it's much more difficult, yeah, because you have to unscrew things and put another roll bar, or I don't know how it's physically made, but it's not as easy like okay, I can press escape here, just 1 or 2 clicks and go with this setup.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to carry on with what you had planned after we've done a couple of questions, that sounds good to me.
Yep. As I said, I'm not going to change the tire compass or the deploy mode. I just found
question out
it
there
was
from Tyler. Sorry, how the MGU?
Oh, sorry.
He keeps it on balance. So you go, Tyler. That's what he said at the start there. Just you keep the MGU unit on balanced, as you said.
Yeah, balance is like it's going to deploy the same amount of energy that it builds in one lap. So it's going to be almost every lap on 80%. I don't know if I can show it on one lap with the cockpit. No, I haven't got the.
Did you deploy the DRS? Because I noticed that the top speed down the Camel Straight, I think, was about 308, which seems a little bit less than what it should be. Were you using the DRS?
That's another thing. I don't use the DRS while practicing.
Okay, fair enough. That's what makes sense. All right, I figured it seemed a little bit. It should be about 321 or something like that, I think. But anyway, that's all I wanted to ask, of course.
Yeah, there's another approach that I saw people doing, which is the opposite one. Always use DRS. Go on quali mode or attack mode, which is the same on this car on the MH UK, and play soft tires, because it's going to be the fastest that you're going to be. And just try with that, feel comfortable with that scenario on the car, and if you improve something on that, know that you are on the limit of the car with the DRS and full power and everything. It's going to be a faster setup, but I personally think that is not the scenario that you are going to have on the race, which is where victories and points are given. And yeah, on quali, yes, you can do a great qualifying, but I rather have first the race setup and then move to a quali setup.
All right.
So one thing that I'm going to do, well, there's something in Spa, because you can, I think you can even drive with the 3 downforce streams, the high, the medium, and the low downforce, which is the one usually that you use on Monza or any other circuit. You're going to be crazy fast on a couple of straights, like the Camel Straight and on Blanchimont, the last section. But you're going to struggle so much on the middle sector. It's going to be easier to defend or even to attack, because you can be in front on straights, and then you can defend on the middle sector, which is practically impossible to overtake, and then defend yourself on straights. I saw, as I said, a high, medium, and low downforce being used. I'm going to stick with the medium, which is the one iRacing suggests. But yeah, we can, for example, if we load the high one, raise the front flap to 1, as we were before. Everything, yeah, I changed some things. So let's load again the same setup, the transparent halo, and just high on the downforce trim. And we are supposed to be very slow on straights and crazy fast on the medium sector.
It's going to be fun for Spa, but we'll see this. We'll see what your top speed is then, obviously, as you get down to Camel Straight. There's also Kevin's out there on the track as well, just getting messing around and getting some good laps in. This is also open up, I believe, guys, right? So if you do want to come in and get some laps under your belt, why not? Because while you're driving the car around, you can be feeling about maybe those questions that you want to ask. You've got the man here, the champion himself. So he'll help you out with that one. Mr. Carlos Sainz, actually, isn't it? We should just say, yeah, Carlos Sainz. Get away with that one. Okay, sorry, you sound like him, that's all.
There we go. So a little bit down on top speed, it looked like on that run compared to the previous. But then watching both Alex is on board here, and I'm in this session. I'm watching from above. The car looks significantly more planted in the corners, and you can see that delta growing a lot in the corners, and then dropping away a little bit once the car straightens up. So there we saw it go up by about 300ths of a second, then drop back down that time in a little bit straightened sections out here. Going to be massively quick through these couple of corners here, which requires so much downforce, and then roll in nicely here. So you see how much time he's just gained, and I think we're going to see most of that tend to drop away a little bit here. This is something we've seen in real life for a few years now, where Mercedes and Red Bull in particular, who are obviously generally the quicker teams, have then gone for more downforce on their Spa setups to protect them in the middle sectors, because they can save a lot more tyres, at least in real life, by running the higher downforce. I'll have to ask Alex how that works in iRacing. Not quite sure if you do save tyres a little bit more by running the higher downforce, because it keeps you a bit more planted in the corners. See there through there, turn one, massive amount of time gain, and then some of that is gonna unfortunately fall away as we come.
Yep. Remember, no DRS.
You're going to be like 3 or 4 tenths down.
Yeah. You can see it right now. So you're barely pushing 300, 308 you were pushing with the other setup.
Yeah, and I'm on 7th gear. I'm on 7th gear because on higher revs, you're going to build much more battery on 7th gear with top revs than on 8th gear with low revs. So you're going to drain more battery, and it's going to be worse for you long term. So that's why I was on 7th gear instead of 8th.
Well, just about to ask, actually, it looked like you were sort of, I can't remember what the word is, but you were losing speed even before you went into the braking zone. I'm assuming that's because the car was kind of stalling a little bit when you were staying in 7th gear, but that helps to build the battery, I guess, then. So it's
yeah, that's how iRacing gets battery, like how it recharges. It's the same as on real life when you're quite high on reps and on the final stage of a long straight, it's going to build battery. For example, now I'm 300 kph and now it's dropping to 95, to 90 even with this corner, and yeah, it's dropping because the battery is building up. Maybe I can change. I think it's on this mode. Yeah, on the black box you can see the ERS battery. So balance is going to keep it balanced on 80% more or less.
So do you want to try the low setup? This is a high setup.
Yeah,
you did the medium, because then we can see the difference in obviously the high end speed, but then your corners are going to be sacrificed. I'm just wondering overall lap time what would be quite good. It looks like was that a little bit of an improvement, I think, on the low downforce over your medium downforce?
No, I think I haven't. It's 5 tenths slower. I was talking, and I know that when I talk, I'm a bit slower. But yeah, for what I know from this car and this circuit, it's going to be pretty even in between the three of them. I'd rather rather go with medium or low downforce. Yeah, I thought Rose and Radiant was going to be a pain with low downforce, but it was quite easy. As I was saying, I'd rather have a lower downforce on the race, because you're going to be a turtle, like a snail on the straights, and you know, it's very difficult. It's very understeery. It's very difficult to overtake, and if your high speed doesn't help, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Yeah, sorry for that word.
It's alright. We got the beeps. Yep, that's
just a little bit delayed there.
Yeah, I think it looked to me like the balance. I mean, so you would suggest, I'd have to say, Alex, if you haven't really got enough time to put all the practice sessions in over and over again, just kind of go with the balance most of the time, I think, the tracks.
Yeah, if you don't have the time, just load the racing setup, and while on race, run the balance mode. And once you are behind a car or you want to overtake, just put the MHUK mode on attack, and yeah, it's a bit delayed, so it's like 1 or 2 seconds since you press that button, the battery gets deployed. But yeah, for example, let me go here. So for example, if I had a car in front of me right now, yeah, maybe now I will go to attack mode. So you see how the ERS go down, even to 20% or less. But yeah, the top speed is not going to be reduced. To say it's building up 318, 319, yeah, maybe a little bit, because
That's
at
the
the end
highest one
iRacing
you've reached. Remember, you could barely push 300 on the high downforce.
Yeah, it's because of the battery and also the loud downforce.
For everyone viewing the stream as well, just want to point out that Alex's setup guide is linked in the description. That's a Google Docs presentation that you can view, details a lot of what we're going through with some great visual representations in there as well, which will help you understand this stuff if you want to be able to sit through and read through some stuff as well. Also gives some really helpful just definitions of a lot of things that will massively help your understanding of going in, what you need to adjust as well. I just want to say that. And Alex, I had a question myself. So, running the high downforce, obviously, the low downforce gives you more top speed. You're going to struggle more in the corners. Does that affect the tire wear as well?
Yes, because you have to steer more to visualize it. I think it's going to be pretty even at the end of the lap, and I botched it. Sorry. But yes, you have to stress a lot the tires, because, for example, I think it was on Pujon with the medium. I think it was almost flat. With a high downforce, for sure, it was flat. But here with the low downforce, I think I have to a big lift.
You don't take the esports line out there that they do in the F1 game on Pujon. They go right out into the grass on the right hand side.
Yeah, and I think I have a bit of a moment there.
Yeah, this oversteer.
I want to see how is my top speed on the first apex with 264. Yeah, from 270 to 263. And if we go to this one, was the medium. Yeah, we'll check on the medium one. Yeah, it's very important to compare yourself to know if you gained or lose time, if it was for the setup or maybe different inputs. And you have to check yourself a lot. Yeah, I didn't hit 260, and I think it was 263 on the high downforce. So, wrong click. So yeah, that's maybe you don't see it on board, but once you see here, it's a lot. Yeah, the lowest is 271. And that's a lot because it's a very long corner, and you're going to gain so much on just one corner. I think I lose everything that I built up to this point, which is the main straight, the first main straight, and I think it was like 1, 2, 3 corners, and I was like just even on the lap, the fastest lap with the medium. So just takes 3 corners to lose everything that you gained on, I don't know, maybe 20 seconds full throttle with the low downforce.
Very interesting. Any questions out there, guys? We are relaying them. This is your opportunity to learn from a true champion. iRacing is a lot of fun once you get it all sorted out like you do. And there's your guide once again there in the chat. You can click on that. Amazing. That you took you a little bit to do that document. It's very detailed as well too. So I definitely suggest you read through that. It applied not just to Formula One, but a lot of that would actually apply to GT cars and things like that as well too. I would imagine there, Alex, because setups are still setups. So
yeah,
how you react.
The main difference is going to be if you are using or driving how do you say, when the engine is not loading the rear axle, but the front one, like the
front wheel drive.
drive. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's a massive difference because it's going to be very understeery. The weight is at the front. It's like there's a slide here which is very representative. When you think about car weight, you have to think, for example, about a shopping
sorry,
cart.
but I got the Foster's beer there, mate. That's a shopping cart. Sorry, I had anyway. Go ahead. Sorry.
So when you drive a shopping cart, or if you put a lot of weight on at the front, when you want to turn, it's like it's not going to turn. It's going to be understeer. It's the definition of understeer. And if you place it at the back, those gears, you can turn it very fast, but the rear wants to, as I say, wants to overtake you. Like if you steer to the right, it's going to be full left and wanting to spin around you. And for example, a front wheel, did I say it? The one that spins the front, axle, it's going to be very, very understeery compared to a Formula One car or any other car.
We have a question out there from Adam. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best rake working range for a W12? What would you recommend, sort of on the rake settings?
It has a lot of rake. I usually ride the lowest at the front, which is 24 millimeters. If I go one click to the left, it's going to say it's too low. And at the back, maybe between 130 and even top, which is 145, I think. Yeah, that might be the range. It's not rare to drive like this, like the front right height, the lowest one, and the rear right height, the highest one. I think it's going to be, for example, if I had to make one change on this setup, it's going to be this one, like raise the rear right height, and it's going to turn better. It's going to maybe be a bit of oversteery, but I'd rather have a car that is oversteery than understeery. And yeah, we can try that. It's going to be better, I think, on corners, and it's not going to affect so much the top speed. So yeah,
it's very much Red Bull, isn't it? Red Bull do that.
Yes, I don't know if
rear.
Yeah, I don't know if the 145 millimeters limit is something about iRacing or the Mercedes, but yeah, the Red Bull is so much rate, and I think they go with a lower aero package, maybe going with the medium trim on other circuits that maybe Mercedes is going to need the high downforce. But having so much ride height is going to be very oversteery the car. You see Verstappen how it applies the steer and the car wants to oversteer. But I think it's made for him. It's like he drove that car for hours and hours, and it's made for him. He wants that car to be a bit oversteery and rather control it than have a shopping car with a lot of front weight.
Yeah, front beer, yeah. Yeah. But obviously, I think at the end of the day, most people just getting into it are going to want some sort of like just equal balanced setup, of course, and then start tweaking it from there, which is generally what we do to suit your kind of driving style, right? And this is what you're going through the guide of just how to based off, you said the iRacing setups are pretty good, right? You just have to kind of tweak them a little bit to how you feel, and you're explaining what this oversteer and understeer means and what you need to adjust. Yeah,
that will be the workflow. Maybe I think in Silverstone, for example, the front wing was very, very low, which I think it was. Let me check. It's very easy to do. Silverstone, yeah. Yeah, the front flap is on the lowest one, which is kind of the same as having the medium downforce trim with a higher front and rear wing. and I felt the car very understeery, and then I went up and up and up and up and up, and it went very well. So yeah, that's another thing to do with when you are making changes on your setup. Just go 1 or 2 clicks. Don't go crazy like okay, I'm going to be like +5 or something like that. A couple of clicks, try it, and if it's better for you, then go on that direction. And if it's worse for you, go in maybe another direction. But that's why I said maybe do 5, 10, even more laps if you didn't drive enough this car, because you want to know if that improvement is because you improved yourself with knowing how to brake later, how to turn in better, or if it's something that the car did, like for example having more front wing and turning better. So if it's an improve of yourself or the car.
Excellent. And that was a thank you out there for Adam for
You're welcome.
your explanation for that one. You should probably get out there and do a couple of laps, mate, so that we can I want to see you drive.
Yeah, I'm going to. I want to raise the right height and maybe go. Yeah, I did a lot of clicks there, which I said a couple of minutes ago to not do. Maybe I'm going to let the car roll a little bit more, which the roll. Let me check the slide. Yeah, the roll is when the car like moves on this edge when you're seeing it coming towards you, because if you let it roll more, which is having less roll rate on this car, it's going to be more oversteery at the front. It's going to let the car roll a little bit more, and it's going to have maybe more grip, to say like that, and the car is going to turn better, I think. So yeah, I'm going for maybe 400. It's too much, but yeah, well, let's check it out, and maybe it's going to be better, or maybe we're going to spin.
Yeah, that's interesting about this roll. I felt that my GT Skyline did make a huge difference. So I want to see how it works out here in a Formula 1 car traveling through a Rouge. Hold on tight.
I was just so incredibly committed through that. Alice, once we're sort of done this bit, I just had a couple of questions. Well, not really questions. Just wanted some basic explanations of how all of the sort of spring settings work on this car. That's one of the things I struggle to get my head around on these cars, because there's quite a lot of different settings for them, and I was just sort of wondering if you could walk us through how all of that works.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty easy car to set up because you don't have any dampers. I don't know, maybe if Mercedes didn't want to share that information with the public or something like that. And you can only change the springs on the whole axle. You cannot change the spring only for example, the front left tire.
Yeah.
And the main things on this car for the spring is going to be the heave spring or the heave rate, which is how the car, when you brake, like the car is going to shift the weight at the front. That's the heave of the car. And yeah, if you go with too much, too late on the brakes.
That's my fault for distracting you, I think.
Don't worry. Nah, I felt the car much better when turning. And I think the delta at the top is the best lap with the medium downforce. So it's very easy to compare one to another. So for example, the heave rate, the stiffer you go, the better it's going to be on fast corners, for example, like the ones in the middle sector of Spa. But if you go, for example, to, I don't know, maybe a street circuit, there's no Monaco on iRacing, but something like that, you want to have the softer springs because they work better on slow corners. For example, like this one.
Bouncy, right? Like Singapore and all that's really bumpy.
it's going to be bumpy even if the circuit has a lot of high curves. For example, the Nürburgring, you want to go with softer springs because it's going to handle better the curves. But on this kind of tracks, which you have like Silverstone, a lot of fast corners like 200 plus kph, you want to have a stiffer spring. It's going to be more effective than the softer one.
A real quick question out there from Kevin. We all know Kevsto's out probably racing around track with you as well. It's just about how do you deal with the higher track temperatures? Okay, in this session, it's about 44 degrees Celsius.
You can do anything about that. So maybe know that the wear is going to be higher on the tires. Maybe more ease on the throttle. For example, at the getting out of this corner, you don't want to be too early. Just to not do that. It's very easy to overcook the tires on this car, but for example, if I had a spin on the first corner, by the time I went to this braking point, let me check the temperatures. By the time you get to this braking point, is going to be at the optimum range. So it's not something to worry about, like the tight temperature, but yes, the wear.
And on your steering wheel at the moment, it's showing the tire temperatures in between, like left and right, isn't it, of the gears in the middle there, I believe.
Yes, the blue one is the core temperature, like in the middle of the tire, and the white one, which is the one that fluctuates more, is the surface temperature. For example, if I keep turning, it's going to be even more.
Okay. And do you pay a lot of attention to that sometimes during the race? Is that important for you?
Yeah, maybe if I'm behind the car and I want to on the corners, it's not going to be very important, but just for the rear tires. But for example, if I want to overtake somebody after a slow corner, I want to make sure that the rear tires are in a good temperature range. Like for example, if I make a mistake while applying throttle, for example, now, maybe if I was something like this, that's pretty crazy, yeah.
Yeah, you can see there going on 140s. Yeah, that's something I think we want to do a little bit later on too, as I think we progress into on the setup guide, but how it also feels when you're driving behind a car and what you do for an overtake and things like that too. So I think Kevin's probably out on track and could probably organise that, but we're still going through the setup, no doubt.
It's in front of me,
yeah. And I'm sure you guys could probably follow each other. And there is Kevin, speaking of the devil right there. It would be like following a car and stuff.
Now I know that the rear tires are a bit hot, so I didn't want to apply full throttle at the exit of turn 1. But as I said, on this straight, they are going to cool up, and it's going to be on a good range of temperature. You always, for example, in Spa, you want to check if your opponent has a lot of downforce or not. You can check that by looking at his rear wing. It's a bit difficult to master that, but otherwise you can see if he's too quick or too slow on the corners. And yeah, once you are less than 1 second, you have the DRS, so you can be very patient with this car. For example, if you are on another series like GT3 or something like that, you don't have the DRS and you want to send it maybe as quickly as possible if you want. But on this car, for example, you can be very patient. For example, right now I'm not in a hurry. Maybe I just have to cut just 1/10. It's going to be hopefully easy. And on the finish straight, I'm going to have DRS and go even closer. So yeah, once I get on the DRS, maybe I want to put the battery on attack mode, which is here. And for example, I know that on this lap it's going to be difficult because it's 1 second is a lot to cut on one straight. But yeah, just prepare. You know that you have the DRS and you have the attack mode, and maybe you can also check how much you cut with the DRS. For example, I was on 1.2. It's going to be 2, 3, even 4/10 at the end. So I know that if I'm at half a second or less, I'm going to overtake it easily with the DRS. Maybe if I'm 0.7 at the beginning of the straight, I want to deploy much more battery to be closer.
Oh, not that much deployment, but yeah, it is.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like that, the strategy to overtake. Also, from now on, we have a mandatory tire change, so you know that you have to both pit, and maybe you know that it's very easy to do an undercut on this game because the new tires have much more grip. So maybe I can stop one lap earlier, and that way I'm going to overtake him as well. You have 3 or 4 tools to play with: the pit stop, the DRS, and the battery. So you can use them as you wish.
All right. And yeah, George, we got some questions out
I
there.
was just
right?
saying we've got a couple more questions coming in. First one is about the diff settings in the car, how they work, and especially throughout the race, how you change them as you're racing.
Yep. Let me fix this. Okay. So the dial that you have here, the first one is the battery. You can change it 4 times per lap. You have a number here that says deploy 4 on the top left corner of the wheel, and that means that you have 4 deploy changes left. So for example, if I go to attack right now, it's not counting because I'm on the pit lane. It's going to show a 3, then a 2, then a 1. So you can change back from balance to attack and back to balance. You can change that twice during one lap.
Yeah.
Then the brake bias, it's how much brake bias you have at the front. I think it's a bit too much, the 57. You can maybe go in 54 in many circuits, which will prevent locking up the front, and you will have more downforce while braking at the front. And one interesting thing that this car have is the brake migration, which is if you put it on 1 like it's right now, when you apply the brake, it's going to be every time 54. If you see the orange number on the top right corner, it's going to be 54 every time. But if you go brake migration 2, sorry, it's going to increase 1% the brake migration the more you brake. For example, if I apply braking, it's going to go through 55. If I go, for example, on brake migration +5, it's going to be +4 on the brake. So, for example, it's 54 the base brake bias, and as I am applying brake pressure, it's going to go through until 58.
And is that so when you're initially braking, it's a little bit lower, and then as you need to slow down more, it picks up, so it moves forwards even more?
It's the other way around. When you, for example, on a heavy braking like the bus stop, you want to apply much more front pressure on the first stage of the braking, and as you are releasing the brake, you are unloading the front tires because you are not locking them up. And the car is going to turn more effectively. So that's what you have the brake migration. And I think it's very, very useful for this car. And for example, Monza Turn 1, I think I went like brake migration +8 or something like that on the league. And maybe on the bus stop is going to be 54 +5 or even +6.
Okay. Yeah.
How long have you been How long would you get much time to before you in a race? Say, for example, if you're going to race in Spa, let's say usually it's be racing usually at this time, of course, in any store racing. But how much time prep would you put into, like, say, for example, getting ready for a race for Spa?
Yeah, normal schedule for me is going to be the races were on Monday, so I usually Tuesday have a day off, and on Wednesday I will prepare the base setup, which is the thing I'm doing today. Load the base setup and feeling comfortable with the tire temperatures, the surface temperature, the track temperature, sorry. And knowing if I can go with more brake bias at the front or less, the heat rate and everything like that. Maybe hour and a half, 2 hours is going to be less time the more you know the car. So for example, on Spa, the second week, I think it was like 2 or 3 days with 2 hours preparation. At that time, I didn't know how the brake migration worked, so I have to be very careful on the braking points, and it was a pain in the butt. Preparing. Thank you. preparing the Spa race, and then on Saturday or Sundays, I will have a long stint preparation. Just making sure that the soft tires will make it to the end or not. Knowing if, for example, if it was a 30 lap race, maybe the soft will start to drop on the 20th lap. So maybe I can go 15 and 15 on that example.
But you ever seemed like you have a little bit more time. Let's say that which is great because the more time the merrier, you're going to get more practice and experience. If you're somebody that just gets home from work and you have basically about 30 minutes after you have a quick shower or something like that, you're going to get it all your rig set up and stuff, and you don't necessarily had a lot of time to practice before. These setups that you're going through, obviously you said you can get the setups from iRacing and quite good. Tweak them a little bit. You went through the main things to look at tweaking first if you're short on time. Are those key things, and then build on the rest?
Yeah, my recommendation will be making maybe doing. Let me silence this. Load the iRacing setup. The fuel level for the 50% race is going to be almost always like 52, 54, but with 60 kilos you are pretty good. I do have a base setup for me, which is the transparent halo on. Weight distribution maybe a little bit at the back, but it's not personal because it's going to be more oversteer the car. But for me, yeah, it's going to be like try to do 5 laps and with the soft tires and see how much thread remaining. So for example, I think it was 3 laps and I consumed 5% of the tire. So if you multiply that based on how many laps are on the race, you can make sure if the tires if the tires are going to last to the end or not. Maybe that's going to be one key aspect. Also, you can check if the people are classifying on mediums or the soft and copy everyone else.
The wear I imagine also decreases as your fuel's lighter.
Yes. Maybe also the wheel inputs. For example, like the car I raced before, it was the McLaren of the 2015, and the tires you can destroy them even 5 or 6 laps. So it was crazy, and it was much more balanced between how easy you were on the inputs and not consuming so much tire. And I think I'm very conservative with the tires. Maybe I can be more aggressive, like turning maybe 1 or 2 tenths quicker, but the tires at the end will be very, very warm.
All right, and big question out there, of course. The secrets to your success of being a champion. You are sharing obviously a lot of your secrets out there because you're dedicating your time to help everybody ask the questions and you're sharing setups and things like that. Any other
Yeah,
something that's not perhaps like just in setups to
yeah, I reckon
yourself?
I have the time to drive during the week, and I can go maybe, like I said, 5 or 6 hours preparing a race. I think one key aspect is going to be like fight with the tools you have when fighting or when overtaking. As I said, the DRS. Don't send it on the first opportunity. You can take your time, knowing your opponent and knowing if he breaks later or not, or if he's going to do a pit stop early or not. And yeah, it's crashing a lot the car, as we said. You can crash the car here and know where the limits is, and have like a couple of spins, like we did, and yeah, I think that's it. Maybe know where you can push and where you cannot push, and take your time. Like I said, learning the car, like knowing where the limit is or not. I know it's easy to say when you have the time. If you don't have the time and you want to jump in a race, it's a bit more complicated. But yeah, the more you race, the more you're going to learn from the car, and yeah, you're going to understand if the limit was there or not. Maybe it was something about the tire that they were worn or something like that. One thing I also do, people that drives on iRacing maybe can hear it. I just lower a lot the engine sound and raise the tire volume, so I can see if the tires are screaming or not in the middle of a corner. Then you know that.
See, that's a nice. That's something like that is not something in the rule book generally. That's interesting information. That makes perfect sense. So you can hear the tires, like
yeah. For example, here. Yeah, you can see the tires are at the limit, not its top limit, but you know that you are taking the corner maybe as fast as the car can handle, because if you are not here on the tire, you are not even near the limit. So you can, something that people maybe on GT3 they lift on this corner because they know the car is going to slide out, and as I said, just crash the car, brake later. You are not going to destroy a physical tire; it's a virtual tire. So brake later, crash the car, and try to understand it even with the sounds, which I think it's very important.
So obviously we got up to the brake migration before. Do you ever use the brake magic in any circumstance? I know it's more of a sort of a warm-up tool, but would you use that on an outlap, or do you not think there's much to gain from using that tool?
I never used it personally. I think the lowest it shifts forward it's 70. If I put it on, now the orange number is 75, and then if I hit the I'm very afraid to press the brake there. But I didn't find it useful. Maybe for qualifying, someone is for sure is going to say that it's useful. But I didn't find it useful in any circumstance.
Yeah, and then moving forwards, we've got the entry, the mid diff, and then the high speed diff. Are they tools that you'll adjust in race or adjust from the baseline, or do you tend to leave those where they are?
I think the baseline, yeah, it's 1-2x. I'll explain that x after that. And some circuit is like 5-5 or 5-4 something, referring the first number at the entry, the second one at the mid, the third one the high speed. For me personally, I always run 1 and 2 on the entry and the mid. As I said, I think I'm very easy on the car. Like for example, you can take this corner, like applying one steering angle like that and releasing the steering angle. And maybe if you are a bit like that, you want to raise your entry differential. The entry differential, the higher the number. I'm going to stop because I'm not concentrating on what I'm saying. If you raise your entry differential, it's going to give you understeer at the beginning of the corner. For example, if I go to this corner, which is a very slow one, it's not going to matter a lot. But for example, with 7 here, you want the car is not going to aim for the apex. It's good for not wearing the tires, because if you are very aggressive, the front left tire is going to get all the weight of all the weight of the car, and it's going to load a lot. But as I said, I think I'm smooth. I'm afraid to say that word because it's going to come up with the smooth operator thing. But I think I'm smooth enough to have the entry differential at 1.
Yeah.
Then the middle differential, having it at 1, I found it not being useful on this car, because for example, in very slow corners like the first corner or Hockenheim hairpin, it's going to, I don't know how to describe that feeling, but it's going to slide and not letting you turn. Even I think the car makes some weird noises or something like that. Maybe it's my imagination. But I find the 2 is the lowest you can go on this car. It's going to give you, the more you lock, so the higher the number, it's going to give you more understeer at the start, at the entry of the corner, and oversteer at the exit. So for me personally, I just go with 1 on the entry and 2 on the mid. And the thing I tweak more is the high differential. I even have a rotary in my steering, which changes it. The more the higher the number, it's going to have more oversteer at the exit of the corner. So for example, with 7, like I am right now, on Pujon, which is a very, very fast corner, depending so much on the rear axle as well. For example, it's going to be easy the first couple of laps, but once you are wearing the tire, you need to have less oversteer at corner exit. So I just find which is the highest number I can run as comfortable at the start of the tire life, and as laps go by, I start going down when I feel that the rear of the car is moving a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. For example, now I know that with 7 it's I can turn more and the car is going to be more responsive. But for example, if I go up to 12, which is the highest number, and now I'm afraid to take Pujon almost full flat. Yeah, the car is the rear of the car is wanting to overtake, is wanting to do some oversteer.
Yeah.
So the more throttle you apply, it's going to be more aggressive, that feeling. So for example, with this configuration, which I think is still a bit very understeer, I can run with 12 on the high speed differential. But once you start shifting that balance from understeer to oversteer into the perfect balance, or at least my personal perfect balance, I almost always run with 7 to 9 on the high speed differential. That's like my point when I'm comfortable with the car and knowing that I'm near the limit of the rear axle. And if I can go to 12 and make a couple of laps, I know that maybe the rear roll rate is going to. We need to increase them to be more oversteer, or maybe lower the front wing. So it's a good indicator if you are near the limit of the car or not.
Alrighty, and let me just look what my plan was to ask you next. Like the jokes in chat as well about brake magic. Was there anything else in particular, Alex, that you thought needed to be should be mentioned?
Yeah, maybe another trick will be like 1 or 2 clicks more on the hit rate. of the base setups. So they are like I think it's 500 at the front. Let me check. So continuing the, as we said, if you have not much time, yeah, I think the base setup has it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's always like 500 newtons per millimeter on the heat rate.
Yeah.
Personally, I will go with 600, and if you click one or twice, make sure you always hit once or twice to keep the same balance. So, for example, at the rear it's going, no, it's 10. Yeah, at the rear it's going, it's in steps of 10 by 10, and in the front it's 50 by 50. But if I find it that if I click twice at the front, I have to click twice at the rear to have the same balance of the car. But knowing that is going to be faster on fast corners. It's going to wear a little bit more the tires, the stiffer springs. But I find it to be better within the limits of the car.
Yeah, Alex, like, why don't you tweak the car right now and give us like what you would be doing if you want to set your absolute fastest qualifying lap, and based on all the information you've explained to us today, what would you do right now? We can all see the conditions as well too. It's a little warmer, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't say the one before. I think I went to 70, which I think in almost every circuit I went with 600 at the front and 70 at the back. That will change, for example, in circuits we have that have a lot of slow speed corners. I think I went down to 400 on the roll rate also. Let me adjust the camera because it shifts when you change the heat rate. And I think I was something like that. Maybe I think I went up to 140. So this was the setup that I had before. This was on 10, let's say. In this one was 4 and 6. I think we were at this point before. I think the car could handle a little bit more of oversteer, so I could go down on the roll rate at the front or stiffen the rear one, which didn't let me. So maybe just go to 350 or something like that. And yeah, but yes,
I was just saying, there's another question in chat asking about after you adjust the heave rates, do you then reset the ride heights as well? Do you do anything different with them?
Yes, when you change the heave rate, it's going to change your ride height. So, for example, that comes with the same question. Let me save this one. For example, one thing I always do, and I didn't do this here, is every little change you make one new version of the setups. For example, if you go 2 clicks more on the right height, just rename this one as 0.2 or something like that, and maybe on the notes just delete this text and put something like raise 2 clicks on rear right height. It's going to, like, you have a log of the things you've done and in which direction you went with the setup, and it's going to, for example, if you close the simulator today and come back tomorrow, you're going to know where you are and why you are there.
Yeah.
And going to the from race setup to a quali setup, let me go with the soft tire. First thing you want to notice or even write down is the front and rear right height, because when you take down your fuel, it's going to raise your car. So it was the lowest one at the front, that was easy, and near 141 at the back. So if we take down the fuel to maybe 5 or 6 kilos, you want to reset those ride heights. So the car is going to be almost the same as before, but with less fuel, and it's going to be super quick on the whole circuit, to be honest. And one thing I do as well, for example, in Spa, you have the DRS, you have it on the main straight and on the Camel straight. And the other one is Blanc-Simon. So you will have DRS there. You don't need so much low. You can raise your front wing because you're going to be quick at the straight because you have DRS. So you can maybe increase 3 or 4 clicks on the front flap for qualifying because you are not going to be slow on the straights because you have DRS for the quali. And another thing to do is the MHUK. Personally, I go to no deploy on the outlap. So this way, I'm going to be sure that I'm not going to deploy any battery on the outlap. And once I hit the last corner, just put it on quali mode, and it's going to be enough battery for one lap.
Now you're gonna have to do it the Halo one too. Right, so
yep.
you can obviously we'll try to be quiet and let you actually put in a banker lap at full concentration. This is just your out lap, of course.
Yes, on the out lap, just make sure not to lock the tires or do anything crazy. Just
we'll deploy any battery.
Yeah, it's not deploying any of it. It's on 100%.
Right, guys. Well, if you want to experience what it feels like to be with one of the quickest drivers on the planet of iRacing, Alex is going to show you how to get a qualifying lap in after he gets his warm-up one done. So he's only got 5 kilograms and change to go, which is just a couple of laps on the soft tires. Everything's tweaked for maximum speed, maximum performance for the quickest lap.
It's going to be just one lap because the battery the battery is not made for 2 laps. So it's good. It's good if you have a mistake on the first lap because you can abort and go to no deploy mode again to build the battery. But for example, if you are on this final sector and you make a mistake, you have to commit to that lap because it's not going to recover the battery.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Whilst iRacing does, of course, in most series give you 2 laps for qualifying, these cars' batteries only last 1 lap. So like Alex said, if you make a mistake early on, first sector, maybe you'll be able to back it up, bring it back down, recover some energy, and you maybe be able to go again if you can fill the battery back up. But once you've committed to that lap and you're probably halfway through plus, you're not really going to be able to back out of that lap and regenerate the battery. So important to make your lap count. So unlike other series where your first lap generally tends to be your banker and your second is your push lap, it's a little bit reversed, especially with these tyres. You want to get peak performance as well, which you'll be achieving on first lap. So here we go, we'll watch the rest of this lap on board. Car is just absolutely planted. See how quick we can be through here. Little lift and then back flat super quickly. Tell you what, I was driving the circuit only a few weeks ago in the GT3 cars, and the speed difference is absolutely insane. You can see Alex is at least, well, over 3 seconds now up on his time, so let's let him concentrate into the bus stop. Oh, and piled the pressure on too much, yeah.
Too much brake migration there. Yeah, but I wanted to comment that that extra front wing we placed there, it made a big difference. I could take I don't know the name of the corner, but almost full flat I think the one that turns right after Les Combs, I think it is.
Yeah.
And
No,
that made
was quick. You could see that. You're almost 2 seconds quicker than the other laps, but that's because you have a full qualifying setup.
yeah, for qualifying DRS red tires, the soft ones. So yeah, it's easier to improve. Normally it's 2 seconds if the track is long enough. It's like 2 seconds improvement. So that's a pretty good reference when you switch from race to quali setup. If it's too short, for example, I think no, Hockenheim also has a lot of DRS, so it was almost 2 seconds. I don't know which one was this season that was almost just 1 second or not much more. And also on the anti-stall league, it was so much fun having 20 minutes to do a quali lap because you can make 5, even 6 attempts. And yeah, you're learning along the way. So I know that I cannot break what I break the lap before on the bus stop, but yeah, it was.
You could see that you were nearly you were over 3 seconds up on your time up to that point, so would have been heading easily for a 42. I mean, you can see your optimal lap time is there now, so let's get on board for another lap.
Yeah, and don't forget, guys, there's a setup guide that's underneath there. Alex's amazing setup guide, actually, so make sure you click on that and get all the information you need to know about what Alex has said. It's been lovely to dedicate his time here this evening, not just visually displaying it, but also written down all bits of juicy information. You want to hear from the champion? This is the champion, as he's on a flying lap right now, already half a second.
Yeah, I also want to let people know that our W12 series will be going back up very shortly as well, following the new iRacing season schedule, which hopefully will be out soon, which means that we can get our schedule out as soon as possible as well. Obviously, they'll all be broadcasted live on the YouTube channel here, so people keep an eye out for that one. It's going to be great racing again, I'm sure. Also, starting, I believe, at the end of this week, in fact, is the GT3 series. So that's going to be on Friday nights. So that's a great one. Everyone come along and watch that as well. Our first paid entry series. So there's going to be some prize money for the winners as well. So everyone keeps their eyes out for that. That's going to be great on the YouTube channel. I think they should be going up as scheduled events very soon if they've not gone up already. So I hope everyone can look forward to that and join us for those races as well.
You guys will be wrapping it up soon, so any last questions while you have Alex's free time here, help you out. It's getting very close to finishing this qualifying lap. There you can see the delta. Bang, there it is.
Yeah, the halo was killing me. I couldn't see my reference points.
Yeah, you usually have that turned off, of course, but in this case, let's have a look at the external camera. Yeah, get your questions in soon. As we're going to get back to it, and Alex has dedicated his time here this evening, as well as the team here at Anti-Stall Racing, to try to help you drive a bit quicker, obviously. And if you're even new to iRacing, I'm pretty new to iRacing. I've just learned a ton of things tonight. I haven't got behind a wheel of a car yet.
It's just why we're here as well. Just asking for some final points, really, a quick summary of what we said today, and just any final bits of advice for the guys out there listening.
I'm saving this setup so you can give it to everyone that has been here. This one's going to be for free.
There's Kevin. Having a bit of a spin. Kevin's also been out the track there, just the laps out. Helping out too, of course, with the racing. How it feels to be following cars. Yeah, of course, everybody can watch this back anytime. You won't be able to ask those questions if you're watching it back after, but you'll certainly be able to skip through everything and find out all the different categories that have been covered with those setups. We talked about everything, almost, I think. Or at least about everything that needs to be. The majority of the key things that you'd mentioned. Of course, you always have to tweak a car to your driving style, but you got to understand the basics first.
Maybe I think if I have to take or to give the best advice is know where the limit is or where the limit is not, and just crash the car, destroy the tires, do everything you want, change setups. If you can invest time doing that, you're going to be crazy fast in a couple of weeks.
Well, I can crash a car. Don't worry about that, Alex. Not a problem. The team don't like me when I do that. But yeah, you're right. You've got to push it to the limit, and that's what you do during practice. You don't want to be pushing it to the limit during a race and then ending up into the fence.
I think that's something to cheer about the boys that go with the real cars. Just finding the limit without crashing the car, I think that's impressive. It's very easy to do it here, crashing the cars and crashing another cars and destroying tires, but the real life with real money and real tires and real families working for a car, I think it's something impressive.
And there are iRacing drivers now that are actually getting behind a real car, so iRacing experience is actually helping them out too if they want to get into real motor racing, because the more you practice simulator helps you with the real world scenario, at least understanding too as well. Those setups, they apply to the real world, of course, same thing. Tweak cars, tweak pressures, tweak brakes, everything we kind of discussed applies to the real world. Of course, your engineers will be doing that, but you know how the car feels. And Michael Stewart at SS, thank you very much. As I said, massively helpful. There you go. Alex has been very helpful because he's also written that fantastic guide as well. Probably would take some good amount of time. That's there. It's available. It's free. Click on it. Obviously, join the website. Twitch is there. The Discord, I think. Discord link will be somewhere around there. Find that on the website.
All those links are on the website, I think, if needed. Yeah.
I wanted to do a 41. Well, the optimal is a 41. It's a 41.999, but it's a 41.
That's a 41.
It's doable.
It's a 41. Take that.
So yeah, I was about to say about the setup guide. It's something that I have not done before, and that is writing down everything that you learn. For example, if you go stiffer on the heat rate, what does it mean? And not just a feeling of one afternoon driving your car. It's like write it down, make it sure it's the same for every car or in any other situation. And I found it very useful. I learned a lot making it, and yeah, I think it's one of the best things you can do. Maybe just check that information with another drivers if they feel the same, that if you raise or lower this or that, if the car feels this way or the other, and yeah, just enjoy it and learn.
Yeah, all right. Thanks so much for joining us. Great help. Congrats on your championship win last season as well, of course. And I hope we'll see you for the first race of next season as well.
Yes, for sure. I'm not going to do the full calendar, so I don't think I'm going to be champion with 4 or 5 races only. But yeah, I will be there, being part of the competition and fighting with anyone who's interested.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right.
Give us that line. Give us the Biggles line before we leave.
Smooth operator.
There it is. Thank you very much, Alex.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone that joined us as well for this stream and anyone that's watching it on replay. If you have any further questions, I'm sure most of them will be answered in the setup guide. And feel free to drop into the Discord as well. Anyone will be very willing to help you out with any issues if you've got any. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for everyone in chat that asked any questions. Bye-bye.